exhausted, but I think I know some new things. It could save me about 30 seconds. And 30 seconds is all I need, okay? We tried some experimental stuff. Didn't work. But we have what we have. And what happened to the Chris? There we go. The whole 5 minutes of this game is just nothing but cutscenes. It's like powerful the first few times, but I'm just like, it helps that the soundtrack is extremely enjoyable. Mm. I think we can do it. Okay? I'm gonna try some new things that I learned. Okay? And if we use those new techniques, I think I can get the time back that I lost, okay? 'Cause yesterday I was 5 over. That was because I lost a whole fucking 40 seconds. That star chase. We can do it. At this. Doo-doo. Not my best tower, but peanut butter. Gonna get the peanut butter. Gonna get my personal best. Do it. Do it. I believe in me. Okay? All pacing up to here is basically the same. Oof. Could have landed in that. We can do it. We can we can make it happen, okay? And that's all that matters here. Peanut butter. Once I like get under 130, I don't know if I'll keep running the game. It's like sub 130 is like the time to stop. It's me in the top 10, I think. Not a quitter. It's just that the best at a video game just doesn't sound like the most, to be honest. It's more about appreciating the art and yeah. Posted like a meta question on my Twitter that was like, "Hey, why are you following me?" It's because like I literally just wanted to know like why, how, or like the social stratification that led up to people following me on Twitter. And people I think are like taking it as like a depressive question, which like no, I just want to know. What I've learned is that I am the ruler of the Gay Corridor Digital Fan Club, so. And that I make cool art, so that's also pretty cool. If this becomes my PB, I will set up the splitters so I can actually like cross compare a little bit better. But as for now, we're just going to appreciate the art, okay? That's all that matters here. I need to learn the answer skip. I need to actually. That's 15 seconds. Stewart. Make it better. Well, I think I'm already like deleting it, but oh wait, duh, I'm an idiot. Can't even. There's no difference here. That's really good. That's some good horizontal right there. I might get it. Fuck, might I get it? I've never gotten it before, so I mean it's there's no like time lost in trying to do. Nope. I won't get it. Never mind. See, what you can do, you can turn around and it pushes you back more than it normally would if you didn't turn, which can give you the horizontal momentum. Oh, okay, I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna fall. Oh, no, I didn't fall. Okay, cool. Not gonna get the skip on this. Yep. Kind of interesting that you can like run through. The rest of them kind of push you back a little bit and like slow it. Interesting. No like time lost for just running at it, I guess. Okay. Better timings than I had previously, but I mean, I still need to learn the short jump. Still need to learn her short jump. It's like really hard to time it correctly. People are getting better at it, so. Oh, there's one. Got a short jump. Fantastic. Momentum's the same either way. A little bit early on. Not the word. Okay, I learned some new things about the cycles here, so I'm gonna try those. I don't think I'm gonna be able to nail every single aspect of it, but oh, I'm trying to jump. Why? Don't run. Nice! Oh my god, I've never nailed that before. Oh, nice. Oh, I just saved like 2 seconds there. It's so good. Fucking nice. Let's see if I can get the other one now. Oh. I mean, the timing was a little bit nicer than it normally would have been, but still. Pray for me. We're making some extremely good time here as far as my standards go, okay? I've never gone this way first, so... I just see where that goes. Oh no. Nice. Nice. Oh, I am extremely happy with this. question is, can I nail it? Okay. Okay. Good. Good. No, no, no. Nice. Okay. Got that trick. Guys, I'm getting so good at this game. Okay, so I learned the walking off trick, which is new to me. I've always like gotten to like terminal velocity, just at the top of that. But apparently that doesn't matter. Which is like a thing, cause like when I first played this game, like somehow it didn't trigger like all the way at the top, and I fell all the way down, and it just like was like 1 pixel off or something. Guys, this is so good. We're doing real good right now. Okay. Just have to keep up the momentum. I think this is the best I've ever done on this game ever. I need to like get the timers actually like completely set so I can properly know, but I think this is better than yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm like 15 seconds ahead of what it was yesterday. All that matters, okay? Just getting better. Ahead. That's good. I think I'm definitely ahead. I haven't fucked up one single thing so far. As far as like I'm aware, like versus like my normal, I haven't fucked up as much as I like normally have. Like not one cycle, not anything. So I just jinxed it. Yeah, peanut butter for everyone. You have a nut allergy? It's something other than peanut butter, but it's peanut butter for everyone today. Let's hope that I get to the trees in time. Ah, fuck. Never do. Never do. Okay, just wait. It's the first thing I messed up. It's totally fine too. A son? A child? I need to just like jump and like be confident about it. Cause I know that there's like 2 frames beforehand that it like is technically like a clip. I still am afraid of not hitting that hitbox every single time. I can't wait to build a bigger one of him. Like, I'm definitely gonna build a bigger one. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be life size. I obviously can't 3D print that though, because like that'll be super fucking heavy. So I'll 3D print like some parts, and then the top will probably be like, or something like. Fine. No! Oh, okay. Like how fucking Windows gaming mode is like, yeah, we'll turn your notifications off, and then it just immediately serves me a new one. It's like, I'm so angry. Like I don't want to look at YouTube notifications right now. I want to fucking look at the game. I'm definitely gonna model out the rest of these dudes too, so everybody can like print their own like little version and be free if they. Yeah. Also because I want like a little shelf full of them. Rip. Okay, pray for me. Pray for me, this is the hardest part. Because it's entirely up to me not being an idiot. I have that big idiot energy, okay? Yes. Fantastic. Okay, so far I've only messed up one thing technically. No, I don't want to look at YouTube notifications. I'm gonna disable you. It's not worth it. I can take the notification. Push notifications. Standard practice. Push notifications on PC though? Nobody wants that shit. members decided to make. I need to be. See, there's a notification over that. I can't see what's going on there. What the fuck is gaming mode for if fucking Windows is gonna serve me these fucking notifications? Well. Oh. Well, I fucked up that trick. But I might have gotten that time back just then. Nope. Nope, I fucked that up. Come on. No! I should restart. Fuck. Okay. It's tilted. Okay, well, I got some good practice in, okay? Can't believe I just like readily fucked up something that like just should be like so. I fucked it up. It's fine. It's fine. I've lost runs before. Okay, let's make it actually happen. The whole point of those is that they're supposed to be like oddly timed in such a way that it's hard to do on a casual playthrough. So like the fact that I'm trying to do it on like an actual playthrough, like time, speed run. That's like, it's even worse. This game like a moment. I bet there's like some sort of like code that we just don't know about yet that like is intentionally built for speedrunning that'll just like totally break this game and break all movement. Need to ask Adrian about it or something. Great. Just random. Holy shit. Got some hovers out of that. That wasn't supposed to happen. Always nice to have a vertical teleport when you didn't ask for it. A little bit better time. If I royally fuck up, okay, that's unforgivable. That like loses me 30 seconds. I will rage quit. Otherwise, I intend to go. All the momentum. I'm gonna try for a PB. Like, what's the point of like doing a stream? You're not even gonna post it. I'm gonna try for it. I promise. I am sweating. I'm sweating, y'all. Whew. Everything's perfect so far. I haven't like done anything like super bad. Starting to learn that. Starting to get that. Not that it matters. There's no time to be gained or lost here. Unless we learn something new. Didn't get far enough. Yeah, I'm not gonna hit it. I was so close. I was closer than I normally was, which is good. I think if I could just like somehow get that second back. Then I can get that skip. Till then. It's a normal time. Nice. Got the short drops. Peace. Sorry if anybody has to watch this. This is extremely mechanical. It's all just the same shit over and over again. Like, you'll get to see an entire playthrough of the game. Like, I will do that. It only takes, hour 30, but... You know, sometimes we royally fuck up in, like, a way that's unforgivable. We just start the whole thing over again. No! I've never done that before in my life. Fuck that. Oh my god. At least it was in the beginning, okay? The later parts, I can like mess up a little bit more because like, those are other times that I've definitely messed up in the later parts, but the beginning, I've had a perfect beginning. So I can't like, I can't fuck up until blue. That's basically where we're at right now, okay? Because I've had a perfect red-green. Or, I guess. as far as my standards go. Like, I've had one where I've never missed a platform, never done anything wrong. If I fuck up, this was a practice, and I'm gonna rage quit. I guess I'm maddest that, like, I definitely just messed up on, like, a really easy part right there that, like, I've never fucked up on before, ever. We do it? That's the question here. So tired. At this rate, I'm going to bed at 11:30. Everyone peanut butters today. Everyone. You know, the number 1 peanut butters today. Number 26 peanut butters today. Everybody's gonna peanut butter. I want 134 today. I won't want it. I want it so bad. I mean, ideally I want 130, but that ain't happening. Eventually we're gonna find something that's like so game breaking that it'll just like be infinite ascendance or something like that. That was a good tower.
Nice.
Is this better audio?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what matters here. Have a good production, okay? I'm so sweaty. Holy shit. Okay. Come on. I would like to get the skip like once I know that it might not happen in a run, because like I've never done it before. But still, like. Nope. Not gonna get it. Well. At least I have the second best option. Oh, how my PB went, so. Well. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's better. I mean, it's about the same. I fell. I didn't fall as badly as I could have. Okay. It's not as good as it could. It's all the little things, okay? I'm still like I'm on a good like trajectory. It's like not as bad as it possibly can be. But I have to absolutely get the red back. Final boss. Better to wait there now, I guess, than like falling for it again. If I fell there specifically, I would have thrown my controller through the screen. Holy shit. That was embarrassing. That was stupidly bad. Rockman. You know that Rockman is Mega Man's name. Yep. It really just is there before you actually like, alright, can see it. I guess that's like a thing to like keep in mind. Sometimes things will actually expect them to. I guess those are just like little hand helpers that are thrown in there by the game to make sure that nobody like royally fucked up. It's like something that shouldn't have been like actual consequence of whatever. Alright, well. Yeah, okay. Okay. I'm losing time here. Not ideal. Extremely not ideal. Might be running away by the time I'm there. Nope. I always like estimate him wrong. Okay. Just like straight up clip through that. Why did that happen? Okay. 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 Believe in me. Believe in the peanut butter. Watching? Type peanut butter in the comments. I smashed the little forest creatures! Smash them. Can't imagine like the 2D controls like are extremely hard to program, to be honest. Maybe the little physics parts, but nope. Always worth it. Nope. Wow. Every time. Damn, dude. If I can PB, that'll be good. But like, that'll be happenstance, to be honest. I am steamy, y'all. I am steamy today. Yeah, it's a very pretty game. I enjoy speedrunning it mostly because it's like, you know, it's good on the eyes. Also, it's like it's a nice and emotional story. Like, I still feel for my baby Gree over here, okay? It's my child. It's my sweet girl. There we go. Ow. Thanks for the follow. I do this as much as I can when I am not feeling extremely depressed. Eventually, I will be an online celebrity. I hope not. So if you're watching, I'm going for my personal best, which is up in the top right-hand corner of the screen. I am on pace to beat it right now. I don't know how to like truthfully say that because I'm not like using a good live splitter right now. But I believe I fucked up considerably less than in previous runs, so yeah. Use Twitch a lot to hide from depression. Ooh. Shouldn't broadcast your depression. How would you post cringe like that? Oh, couldn't imagine. This is the third playthrough I've done tonight. First two have been royally fucked up by me. Woefully fucking up on a very easy section. Oh, I got an early clip! Nice! That's not supposed to happen. That's frame perfect. Love it. The hard part. Pray for me. The rest of it's easy because, like, you can't fall down when you're in water. But these parts, gravity still exists, so... That was perfect. I'm really proud of myself. I've fucked up that so many times. This time. Good job, me. Nice. Also, welcome to the stream. Normally, only like seriously making this a thing when Extra Life is around and I'm streaming with my Corridor boys. Or the House Gamers boys. This, as of recent, has been taken off a little bit, so... It's been going up. Kinda cool. I've been doing some really cool stuff on Twitter lately. Some of my first files, having some spicy takes on some trans issues. Been posting some really sexy photos of myself, you know. I'm an online influencer. She said as she put the gun in her mouth. Anyways. Doing really good here. Ooh, I got an early one. Nice. Perfect. Okay, here's the part that I just fucked up on. Nope, I fucked up again. Gotta be patient. Gotta be patient. Okay. Nope. Nope. One more time. One more time. Losing time here. Nope. Why am I fucking up this bad? Okay. Well, hopefully. I'll still PB with that. I really doubt it, but... You know... Actual PB, I fucked up a lot, so... This isn't the worst it could be, but still, not super great. I'll read chat really soon. Sorry, I can't. Saw the post on my Twitter and said, hell yeah, watch. Yeah, that's because I'm a online celebrity, you know? Don't you know? You know, people just want to know what I'm thinking all the time. People, I have my finger on the pulse of society. As a side note, this also begins my career as an e-girl. I will be selling trans girl bathwater really soon, and it will be at a premium. I will actually just sell like 10 of them at $3,000 each. So that way, instead of having to bottle like a bunch of them for like $30, right? Just bottle 10 of them for $3,000. Oh great. Yep, I'm Yep. Once again, finger on the pulse, you know. People just care about what I have to say. I'm not a narcissist. I'm not a narcissist! No, you see, you try to undercut. If you're saying like 2,999 for your trans girl bathwater, okay? I can just say that mine is more premium than yours, okay? You say that mine is worth it more than yours, okay? I'm the Apple of trans girl bathwater, okay? You just decided to lower yourself. You've lowered your price and you've undercut You've undercut me, but more accurately, you don't know your own self-worth, okay? You gotta believe in yourself, okay? You're gonna sell your own trans girl bathwater? Sell it for the exact same price, okay? Not the best that could have been, but... Nice. That's supposed to push you, that's supposed to, like, push you over and, like, do what the sandstorm does to you. But, if you just, use the glide, it does the same thing as it's, supposed to do when you boost, except that I did it in the opposite direction, so it just cancels out. Real strats with Nat. Strats with Nat. Yeah, exactly. Actually, you know, can't say I got the standard trans girl experience anymore, okay? They want that girl dick bathwater. I got that neo vag bathwater. It's less of a market demand, you know. Very boutique. They want it to pour over the masculinized skull, and I have that FFS bathwater, okay? So can't do anything for yeah. Other people are you know, I might actually have to discount, you know, you might have a consumer advantage over me, actually. I don't know your situation. Just know that, like, in like a 1% demographic. Oh, yes. That wasn't supposed to happen. I can't wait till they patch this game and, like, those clips are just, like, slightly longer. Because that'll make everything so much easier to speedrun. Holy shit. I probably said something offensive. I'm a problematic tran. Gotta be honest. After like 8 years of this shit, you don't give a fuck anymore. Just say what you want. And you just like know that you're better than the rest. Whoa. No, that was a fuck up. Oh, that shouldn't have happened. Something premium Batman generic off. No, but like the standard trans experience more valuable to the male market than the post-op trans experience. To be honest, they like the. They don't want you anymore after you get your bottoms. I'm not supposed to say that. We're not supposed to say that. I don't know if you want men. Probably don't. All I'm saying is that the gamer girl bathwater demographic, market demo, all male. Ain't no women buying that shit unless they're like. I guess there's female incels, but like. Unless you're Jessica. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna. Ain't that the fucking topic of the day though? Oh my god. Not really. Guys are too complicated. They're not. They're really simple creatures, to be honest. And the worst part about them is that they all have like this like latent like want to be like dominated by trans girls, which is like just something that I don't particularly want to participate in. Which is why I stopped dating them, because I don't feel like dying and I don't feel like being your mom. D is playing Wolfenstein. Why is D playing Wolfenstein? Also, what's Wolfenstein Youngblood? I've never heard of that. Is that like a new one, or is that an extremely old one? Is it like a old game demo? Sounds like a game demo. Guys are not complicated unless they're like the kind of guys that are like ridiculously like insecure, and then like you have to be their fucking therapist, and like fuck that shit. What do I know? I'm just a little prop maker from Los Angeles, California. In the update, they took the clipping out of there. So I remember the first time playing through, I like blocked straight into the tower. Twitch is a mess, y'all. Okay. You can watch me on You can watch me on Facebook Live, you can watch me on YouTube. Watch me on Twitch. Twitch is theoretically the best platform for game streaming, but I don't actually believe that because YouTube lets me do 1080-60 and down converts it for me. Anyways, we're all multi-streaming here, okay? We're all friends. We're not loyal to any platform. Oh, you can also watch me on Mob Crush. mobcrush.com/Madalier. I need to figure out how to get this cycle. Mixer. Yeah, I need to start doing the Mixer thing. I don't think that Mob Crush lets me specifically stream to Mixer because it believes that Mixer is one of their competitors, which like makes sense. I could be wrong about that though. I just like literally don't know. I just know that like Mob Crush is like a restreaming platform for monetization specifically. And like the only reason I use it is because it has a universal chat that's just slightly nicer than Restream.io. This is what I use. So yeah. But also like Mob Crush is a new platform, so like there's always the off chance that like let's say that like Twitch royally fucks up and like bans somebody like Destiny or whatever. Like Market Demand will be like, go over to someone like Mixer or Mob Crush or, you know, not one of the big ones. YouTube, I guess. I would not be surprised if like Destiny's next ban though, he's gonna straight to YouTube. That's why like fuck with your listing down. Love money. That was perfect. I'm really happy with that. Well, you enjoying the stream so far? Learning some things about Gree. Learning some strats. Learning some top tier gaming skills. What? No! How? How the fuck did I miss that? That's like, oh my god. That's embarrassing. That wasn't supposed to happen. I've never done that before. Never done that ever in my life. Actually, I literally haven't. I'm gonna name it now. Like I don't think that like any platform is going to like beat out Twitch and YouTube and Facebook gaming as like the number 3. Reason being right now is that those platforms like have infinite money to like fucking throw at it. Second of all, because like those communities tend to have tend to have content moderation. And like if you build a community around like the lack of content moderation, you're like doomed to fail. Like Mixer is royally fucking up. I probably shouldn't say these things. I have like industry connected. Nice. Turtle bro. You learning about Greece? I'm not like super high on the leaderboard, I'll be honest. Especially with the out of bounds category now. Sci-fi. Yeah, I mean it has like kind of like a sci-fi style to it with like the statues and stuff like that, like societies that have built extremely big statues, but that's not really what's going on here. It's instead like her going through the stages of grief and trying to reconstruct an image of her mother. So not really what's going on there, but I love it so much though. Also, they're giving me a lot of love for that cosplay I did of Greece, so that's cool too. The official account was like, "This is the perfect Greece cosplay," and I'm like, "Well, thank you." Thank you, art director for Amada Studio. I will accept that the perfect Grease cosplay is done by a Tran who knows a little bit about makeup and wigs. They're pretty okay pace. Yes. Yes, that super ball. Well, no balls. Remember, we've had an orchiectomy here. I have some cosplays underneath my belt. I actually have a lot of cool ones that like I don't have up anymore because I took them all down because like I want to reshoot them. Like, I have a female Thor that I, not to brag, did really good on, and I want to reshoot it and redo the breastplate. Also, I know that baller doesn't mean is of the testicles. I know that it has to do with basketball, whatever. Wait, casino? Wrong about that. I don't know. Yeah, we'll start up the cosplay again because it's fun. It's fun to. Hey, Mob Crash Mod. How's your platform doing, buddy? No, yeah, get back into cosplay. Cosplay is for everyone. Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't have any pre-FFS pictures of my cosplays anymore. Also, I'm not gonna reshoot Zero Suit Samus until I like lose my pudge, because I've been a little bit pudgy lately. I need to get my belly unpudged. You get the symbolism? There's a turtle. It's a hard shell. It's a hard protective shell, okay? Sometimes you go down into your deepest depths in the blueness, the darkness of the depression. You protect yourself, but also that protective shell, that's actually really good, okay? Because it prevents you from getting hurt, okay? It's a pretty game, but I think that the blue section is just like so like heavy on like the hammers you in the face with it to kind of like symbolism that like I still have to be like a little bit like, haha, get it? It's the stages of grief. This is the depression stage. We're in our depression, y'all. There's little glimmers of hope. They're represented by the color yellow against the color blue. And there's like little bits of light, yeah. I actually don't deal with eggs anymore. If anybody's an egg, yeah, I just don't talk to them anymore. There's like a point where it's just like stupid to continue to talk to eggs. They're all like really I mean, I'm sure that's like super bad for the community. It's like all the like post-op people are like, yeah, I don't feel like talking about this shit anymore, which like I'm like halfway in between. I still talk about it, but like I mostly to like shit post about it. But yeah, I don't talk to kids anymore. Fuck that. what will I do if I take the hormones? Yeah, the hormones will make you girly. What if I don't want to be girly? Then stop taking the hormones. But what I'm scared, I don't want to... Then don't take it. I'm not like 100% sure. Then don't get on the hormones, you dummy. Scared of my pee-pee no hard, then don't take the hormones. Scared of my wife leaving me. Oh yeah, like the secondary dysphoria kind of thing. Yeah, that's the other reason not to like deal with the community anymore. And like I don't really hang with any trans people other than my friend Kat, who does YouTube stuff. That's because we're like both industry. It's nothing trans anything. Like kind of just past it. Aside from like career stuff. You go to the event, it's just like it's like a constant thing. Like the community's just trying to bring each other down. I don't need that energy in life. Fuck that shit. Okay, I am a strong, mostly together, woman. I don't need you like around here. I don't need you being like okay, well, I mean, it's cool. I felt that way like 6 years ago, but like really? Yeah, yeah. Story. Don't hang out with them anymore. Only with trans. Not like whiny. There's so much whiny you can. I'm not like a neo-reactionary though. Fuck that. I'm a leftist. I'm just like a shithead left. Not like, not like a trans med or something like that. But I forgot which side I was on. sloppy, but it'll work. Oh. They're playing Wolfenstein Youngblood because they're playing it together. Ready indeed. Get in their Discord, see what's going on. I talk to my friends in a while. This way. Enjoying the visuals. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's like watching a cartoon, to be honest. It's like, it's just trippy. It does. There's nothing like UI wise in this. How's my day? I mean, I'm going for PB. I've had some rough times today, but as far as like my actual job, my actual like life going, pretty good. I got a retweet from Warframe, so something I did creatively, not just because I said something fangirlish. Because I actually literally have never played Warframe. So. They hired me for a job, and I was like, I've never played Warframe. Like, matter. Wait. new trick today? Shit. Okay. Hey, I did it! I did flower skip! This is the first time I ever did flower skip! Oh my god! I did it! I mean, it was sloppy, but like, I did it! Holy shit! Nice! I did flower skip! Guys! That's like a major speedrunning strat. That's like one of them that saves you like 15 seconds. I just saved 15 seconds. Good job, me. Truly, I am the epic gamer. This one. Woot! Yep, that was a woot moment right there. If I can get no cycle, oh my god. Get no cycle. Oh, didn't get it. Whatever. Okay, I've never gotten it once, so why would I ever get it now? All ready for cutscenes? Got a bunch of cutscenes coming. Cutscenes I can't do anything about. What? If I don't know what transistor is, but I definitely sounds cool. If it's anything like this, I wanna see what's going on with it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Stars. In your multitude, scarce to be counted, filling the darkness with order and light. You are the sentinels, silent and sure, keeping watch in the night, keeping watch in the night. Come on. Come on, my child. Nope. Y'all ready for a boss fight? I'm kidding. There's no boss fight. There's no fights in this game. Oh, shit. We're getting pretty close here. Pressure's on. Mom is dead! Look at her, she's dead! Nothing I can do. Except for maybe a little bit of singing. Bring her back. Whoa. You see that? You see that just like barely clipping there? Oh, that gave me a heart attack. Yeah, I don't know, we're cutting it close here. I need to time out like this end sequence to just like know how much it like actually takes. You ever had a dream that you could have sworn was real? Damn. How much time do we shave off? We shave off. No way. 3 minutes? That's really good. Two minutes. Shaved off 2 minutes. Oh my god. Oh. Wow, holy shit. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Come here, my child. The world is... The world is piecing itself back together. Beat. Child. My baby. My baby boy. My baby boy. We've done it. We've done it. Okay. Goodbye. Okay. Means I have to submit that, don't I? I'll wait for the YouTube VOD to render out, and then I'll just use the editing tool to cut it down from where the last run is. But thank you, everyone. That was a good stream. I accomplished a lot of what I wanted to. I made my PB. And, yeah. Got to shit on my own community. I got to chat with some new people. Good. I love you. Everything's gonna be okay. Alright? And if it's not, that's fine too. You just have to believe things are gonna get better, okay? I know that this is not the best advice always, you know? That things are just going to get better. But like, yeah, I don't have anything that like can actually prove it. You just have to kind of believe. And if you don't believe, then I guess you fulfill your own destiny, right? Okay. Have a good one.